Trusting a policy pledge from slippery Starmer is like believing in the sincerity of Jeremy Corbyn celebrating Hanukkah. But today, the man who is coasting towards the Prime Ministership, even though it's impossible to know what he really believes about anything other than winning, launched 5 Weasley and actually pretty meaningless missions. Essentially, this was the new version of Ed Miliband's disastrous Ed Stone. So here they are. Secure the highest sustained growth in the G7, make Britain a clean energy superpower with zero carbon electricity by 2030, accelerating the rush to net zero, build an NHS fit for the future, make Britain's streets safe, break down the barriers to opportunity at every stage. So it's as vague can be, no timelines, no specifics other than on the economically ruinous march to net zero, and not a single mention of the invasion of our southern border or out-of-control immigration, a clear concession that Labour's open borders ethos remains alive and well. Oh, and he's already conceded defeat by saying all of this could not even be achieved in one term anyway.
Also honest enough to say that some of these issues are not going to be fixed within 5 years. They're longer term than that. I don't think it'll come as a surprise to anyone that some of these issues are going to be longer term. That's why we've said a decade of national renewal. I'm not getting ahead of
But the bigger point is an issue of trust. How can we believe Keir Starmer believes in these pledges and will implement them when time and time again, from Brexit to Corbyn to Begum to his lefty leadership pledges, the man has said what he needs for political expediency at the time, only to reverse course later?
I'm 100% behind Jeremy Corbyn.
Jeremy Corbyn will not stand for Labour at the next general election as a Labour Party candidate. Our options must include campaigning for a public vote, and nobody is ruling out Remain as an option. I've said on a number of occasions that we are not going back to the EU.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. For the vast majority of women, this is all about biology, and of course they don't have a penis. We all know that. Climate change is the issue of our time, and as the Extinction Rebellion protest showed us this week, the next generation are not going to forgive us if we don't take action. Get up, go home. I'm opposed to what you're doing. It's not the way to deal with the climate crisis, and that's why we wanted longer sentences for those that are gluing themselves and stuck on roads. The decision by the Home Secretary was the wrong decision, and I think it was a rushed decision.
I want to ask you about Shamima Begum. In 2019, you said stripping her of her British citizenship was the wrong decision. She's lost her appeal to regain it. Should she be allowed to appeal again?
I think the court decision yesterday is the right decision. National security has to come first.
No wonder the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, decided to rewrite Starmer's missions this week.
No, but the Honourable Gentleman talks about his plans. We have heard that tomorrow he's going to announce 5 missions. But we already know what they are. It's uncontrolled immigration, it's reckless spending, it's higher debt, and it's softer sentences. And for the fifth pledge, Mr. Speaker, we all know it's that he reserves the right to change his mind on the other 4.
Even the British-bashing corporation couldn't stomach another set of lies from the opposition leader on the Today programme this morning.
You abandoned many of the pledges that you made when you ran for leader, so why should people trust you?
Well, look, so far as the pledges when I ran for leader are concerned, they are important statements of value and principle over the last 2 or 3 years across the country.
I'm so sorry, you just answered the question by asking a new question. You spent years advocating for him to be Prime Minister.
Well, look, every single member of the Labour Party campaign for a Labour government at the next election. There's nobody's going to say that's vague, that's
but how are you going to do
something that's easily achievable. Just let me finish on the missions and I'll come straight to your point. The mission needs to be ambitious. It needs to...
Obviously, everyone who wants to be Prime Minister is going to say we've got to be ambitious as a country. I mean, that's literally verbiage.
Starmer spent years campaigning for Jeremy Corbyn to be Prime Minister. He spent years campaigning for a second referendum on Brexit to undermine the biggest democratic mandate in British history. He lied to his party about a hard left programme only to reverse course the moment he secured the leadership. His missions are meaningless because Starmer cares about one thing and one thing only: securing power and then doing what the hell the globalist political establishment tells him to do. Be warned.